Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar the Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Chakaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktabinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Ganga Mahi Ki Jai. Yamuna Mahi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktabinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Okay. So, let's see. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 4th day of August, 2025, in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're in chapter 6, entitled Dhyāna-yoga, the yoga of meditation, text 41 until 42. 43. Oh boy. Okay. Text 43 on page 296. Tatra tam buddhi sangyogam labate parvadehikam yatate chatato bhuyaha samsiddhau kurunandana tattatam buddhi yogam, tattatam buddhi sangyogam labate parvadehikam yatate chatato bhuya samsiddhau kurunandana tattatam buddhiyo sangyogam buddhi sangyogam labate parvadehikam yatate chatato bhuya samsiddhau kurunandana tattatam buddhi sangyogam labate parvadehikam yatate chatato bhuya samsiddhau kurunandana. Prabhu, want to chant? Tattatam buddhi sangyogam labate parvadehikam yatate chatato bhuya samsiddhau kurunandana. Daniel. Tattatam buddhi sangyogam labate parvadehikam yatate chatato bhuya samsiddhau kurunandana. Naga. Tattatam buddhi sangyogam labate parvadehikam yatate chatato bhuya samsiddhau kurunandana. Tattatam buddhi sangyogam labate parvadehikam yatate chatato bhuya samsiddhau kurunandana. Tattatam buddhi sangyogam labate parvadehikam chatato bhuya. Chet, Chet, I missed you, I think. Tattatam buddhi sangyogam labate parvadehikam yatate chatato bhuya samsiddhau kurunandana. Anyone on the end want to chant? Tattatam buddhi sangyogam labate parvadehikam yatate chatato bhuya samsiddhau kurunandana. No? Okay. Okay, one just note on pronunciation. When you see a double letter, it means the first syllable is heavy. Instead of buddhi, it's buddhi. Instead of samsiddhau, it's samsiddhau. So in the future, for future reference, put that in. Okay, word by word. So I'll read it myself, just read along. Tatta, thereupon tam, that buddhi sangyogam, revival of consciousness, labate, gains, parvadehikam, from the previous body, yatate, he endeavors, cha also, tataha, thereafter, bhuyaha, again, samsiddhau, for perfection, kurunandana, O son of Kuru. Okay, I'm going to read the previous two translations because then you'll understand this translation. So the unsuccessful yogi, this is 41, the unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people, or into a family of rich aristocracy. Or, if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such a birth is rare in this world. And then today's translation, on taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success. All right, I'm going to read that one again. On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru. Purport. King Bharata, who took his third birth in the family of a good Brahmin, is an example of good birth for the revival of previous transcendental consciousness. King Bharata was the emperor of the world, and since his time, this planet has been known among the demigods as Bharata Varsha. Formerly it was known as Ilavrata Varsha. The emperor, at an early age, retired for spiritual perfection, but failed to achieve success. In his next life, he took birth in the family of a good Brahmin and was known as Jada Bharata because he always remained secluded and did not talk to anyone. And later on, he was discovered as the greatest transcendentalist by King Rahugana. From his life, it is understood that transcendental endeavors or the practice of yoga never go in vain. By the grace of the Lord, the transcendentalist gets repeated opportunities for complete perfection in Krishna consciousness. Om Jnana Timurandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, the reason I read those three is because Krishna is answering Arjun's doubt. That he, first of all, he says, well, just to summarize the chapter in a bit, this is where Krishna is explaining the process of Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga means 8 limbs. And the 8 limbs, I'll give the Sanskrit in English: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pratyahara, Pranaya, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So, Yama are the don'ts, the things that you have to refrain from, give up. Just like in the Hare Krishna movement, we have our 4 regular principles: no illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, meeting. So in the yoga system, there are those and more. And then you have niyama, the things that you have to do. Go to a sacred, secluded place, sit on this seat this way. Krishna describes them here. And then asana. All right, now you're sitting. You can't slouch. You know, you have to sit up straight, back like this, you know. And what do you do with your eyes? Well, you look at the tip of the nose. I never could do that. And then there's the process of pranayama to regulate the mind. And if anyone who's ever done any serious hatha yoga practice, they usually give some pranayama. It's pacifying for the mind. It's very healthy. Okay, so regulating the asana, that's the seat, and the pratyahara is withdrawing your senses from the sense objects. So the idea is to place your attention within, and it's located at the heart of the super soul. This is what the purpose is, to realize the super soul in the heart. So that's the pratyahara. Pranayama is the breath control. Then comes dharana, the process of concentrating, because the mind is, as described here, very restless, very powerful, going here and there, as we probably experienced. So that has to be controlled. The whole process of yoga is to control that mind and fix it on the Supreme Lord within. So that may take a while, concentration, and it matures into meditation. That's when you really have periods when you're really focusing wholly and solely on your object of meditation. And samadhi is absolute complete absorption. And you can go on for an hour like that. And you're totally absorbed in the object of meditation. So Arjun, he spoke this to Arjun. Now Arjun, you know, the context is on the battlefield. Arjun is a great warrior. And he didn't want to fight the battle, because on the other side are his worshipful guru, his teacher for martial arts, and his grandfather figure who helped raise him and his brothers when his father died untimely, you know, the whole story. So these, beloved Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya are there, plus all kinds of other friends and relatives on the other side, because it's an internecine battle, a big family. They both belong to the Kuru dynasty, basically. And so he just got cold feet. He said, I can't fight. I'd rather go to the forest and just beg. It's too much. So, but he had, he's teaching us. So, well, in this dilemma that he had, he took the right step, which was to surrender to Krishna as a guru, because Krishna was his dear friend. He was in this fraternal relationship, very intimate and wonderful. But that was in the background now. And so he surrendered to Krishna as a guru. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava. He says, because of this miserly weakness that I'm feeling, I've lost my real nature as a Kshatriya. Karpanya pahata svabhava. Pritchami tvam dharma samuda cheta. Please tell me what's good for me, because my mind is confused about what real dharma is. And in real Vedic culture, especially the Brahmins and the proper Kshatriyas, they're very concerned that they do the right thing, the dharma. You see. But he's confused, because is it right to me to kill my relatives, or is it right for me to fight the battle? So, Pritchami dharma samuda. Please instruct me that how I can achieve Shreya, the ultimate good. You see? My immediate concern is that I don't want to kill anybody. That's prayas. I'll be happy if I don't have to kill anyone. But he recognizes that there's a greater good, there's a greater mission that Krishna has. He comes in order to reinstitute Dharma and protect the devotees and get rid of the demons. So then, Shishyastaham Sharimam Tvam Papannam, that key word Papanna means I surrender unto you. Not friendly talks anymore. Now I'm your disciple, so please instruct me. So what's the first thing Krishna does? He chastises him. You fool! He said, Ashocana Mashochasta. You're lamenting for what is not worthy of grief, namely the physical body. Nobody dies. The next verse, Natve Vaham Jata Nasam Natum Neme Janari Pa. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor any of these kings, or any of these other fighters. Not in the same bodies, but the soul has existed. That's the whole point. And then comes this Dehinosmin Yadadehi, a key verse. Just as, it's a great verse because it illustrates by our own life how transmigration is taking place. That we can all remember, most of us have some memories when we were 8 years old, 9 years old, maybe even 5 years old. A few little things are still there. So we know that we were there, we had a different body, and we're the same person. Our mind was different, our baby ideas. But we were still there. And then you gradually grow older, right? You go to school, 8, 9, 10, you become an adolescent. So we've all gone through that. It changes, and your mind changes, your body changes. What doesn't change? The soul. You're always the conscious person in there. And then, so he has this whole instruction on the nature of the soul. And then the key verse, text 20. Najayate mriyate vakadachan hayam bhutva bhavitava nabuya ajo nitya shashito yam parano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. For the soul, there is never birth or death at any time. He hasn't come into being, doesn't come into being, will not come into being. There's no new souls getting created all the time. There's this huge number of souls that is there that Krishna manifests, and we're eternal. We're unborn. We're as eternal as Krishna. But we don't know it. We're not living that. We're identifying with the temporary body, and that's our whole problem. So that's the punchline. The soul is not slain when the body is slain. And all of us are slain by old age, disease, and death, if not by some accident or some weapon or something or other. Whatever it is, it makes this body dysfunctional. Just like any machine. It's an amazing machine, but it wears out like any other thing. So that's the foundation of the Gita. So then he talks about different kinds of yoga. Karma yoga, Dhyāna-yoga. And then he called Ashtanga Yoga. Now then the next six chapters, Prabhupada says this is the essence of the Gita. The middle 6 chapters, he starts talking about Bhakti Yoga. And it's interesting because Arjuna's complaint, we had a few verses back, is that Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balabhaddham tasyaham nagaham manye vairi vasudaskaram. The mind, because the whole thing is controlling the mind, but he said, I don't think I can do it. The mind is very restless, chanchalam himanakri, very obstinate, and it's like trying to control the mind is like controlling a hurricane wind. That's what I see it like. So I don't have much hope, So Krishna encourages him. Yeah, it's difficult, but you can do it by practice. And then Arjuna said, what if I fail? I will have left my duty as a Kshatriya, left all that and gone to the Himalayas to sit in meditation. But then I can't do that, so I failed in both. Like a riven cloud, I'll have no place. So no, nothing is lost. You'll take birth in a pious family or a wealthy but pious, so you won't have to worry about maintenance, or even better, a yogi family, and you'll continue your practice. So Arjuna says, I'm still not so excited about it. So then we're coming up on the last verse where he finally says, all right, don't worry. Yoginam abhisarve shanmadgatena tadam. The best of all yogis is one who's always thinking of me within himself with great and transcendental faith and loving service. Bhajatevam. So Arjuna's a big relief because he's beloved Krishna. And then the next verse, which is the first verse of the 7th chapter, Krishna starts describing how you can, not with so much artificial endeavor of the Ashtanga Yoga, but in your daily life you can cultivate attraction for me so that the mind becomes on me. And the greatest thing is that Krishna, the very name, means all attractive. So if you begin to think of Krishna as his holy name, in this age especially, and all the beautiful deities, the prasadam, the leela, the pictures, the paintings, the festivals like Ratha Yatra, then your mind becomes enthralled with Krishna. And that's the goal. You don't have to struggle. You naturally think of Krishna. So that's what the Gita is all about. And here, he's coming to the point where he's going to finally, give up on trying to convince Arjuna to practice Dhyāna-yoga, which he's really not. He's illustrating how it's pretty impractical in this age. In this age, what's that famous verse? Those who know it. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nyasteva, nasteva gatadanyata. I put it into a little poem. If you want to achieve the supreme goal of life in this age, when dissension and chaos abound, there is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way that can ever be found but to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name, but to chant Krishna's name with a stout-hearted vow, and to pray, O Lord Krishna, O friend of the poor, let my head ever run to your lotus feet bow. That's the Trinadapi Sunichena part, be very humble and tolerant. So that's what Lord Chaitanya, who's Krishna, he came to give, and there's no contradiction between the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and Krishna's teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, but Lord Chaitanya's teachings have the great value of being practical for this age, and we can practice them, and that's why we have this movement. Okay, any questions on these points in this verse? If not, we can go on. Okay, so we did 41, right? 43. Wow, I'm falling behind. Okay, 44. Purvabhyasena tenaiva riyate yavashopisaha jigyasurapi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate. So this is the reborn yogi. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. Purport. Advanced yogis are not very much attracted to the rituals of the scriptures, but they automatically become attracted to the yoga principles, which can elevate them to complete Krishna consciousness, the highest yoga perfection. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7, such disregard of Vedic rituals by the advanced transcendentalists is explained as follows. Aho bata shapachoto gariyan yadvagve vartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juhavu sasnaraya brahmanuchur nama gunanti yete. So this was spoken by the mother of Kapila Dev, Devahuti. He's teaching her. And she is explaining her surprise and wonder. Oh my Lord, persons who chant the holy names of your Lordship are far, far advanced in spiritual life, even if born in families of dog-eaters. Such chanters have undoubtedly performed all kinds of austerities and sacrifices, bathed in all sacred places, and finished all scriptural studies. So the part that's missing from this translation, but it's there in the book, probably translated, Jajjigba Gray, was on the tip of their tongue. Somehow the name is being vibrated. And how amazing it is, even if they're lowborn. The famous example of this was presented by Lord Chaitanya, who accepted Thakur Haridas as one of the most important, his most important disciples. Although Thakur Haridas happened to take his birth in a Muslim family, he was elevated to the post of Namacharya by Lord Chaitanya due to his rigidly attended principle of chanting 300,000 holy names of the Lord daily. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So 300,000 names is about 192 rounds. 192 rounds. We're struggling to finish our 16, but that's what 12 times as many rounds. So it takes probably one time that it takes about 16 hours, and that's really a cooking at a rapid speed. 5 minutes a round or less. What is that?
64 loudly, right? 64 quietly.
Oh yeah, there's some say that he chanted some in his mind and some on his lips, and some loudly. Yeah. Okay. And because he chanted the holy name of the Lord constantly, it is understood that in his previous life, he must have passed through all the ritualistic methods of the Vedas known as Shabda Brahma. Unless, therefore, one is purified, one cannot take to the principles of Krishna consciousness or become engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna. Now, of course, in many places, Prabhupada said the process is the process of purification. So even if someone is Kirata Hunanda Palinda Bukisha, there's a verse in the second canto describing you can be an outcast, you can be from here, there, or it doesn't matter. If you take shelter of someone who's taken shelter of Krishna, then you can become purified. Shuddhanti tasmai prabhavishnave, shuddhanti. So that's encouraging for us, because I don't know about you, but I wasn't born in a Brahmin family. No way. But still, these last 52 years, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Because don't forget that first verse of the Shikshastika, what is the very first words? Cheto Dharmana Marjanam. The process of congregational chanting polishes the mirror of the mind, of the heart. So that's what we're working. It's still the mind is the central thing of yoga. So that polishing is done in a very joyful and glorious manner. Like we had the whole festival yesterday. Everywhere you go, there's chanting of Hare Krishna. And you come away feeling enlivened and enlightened and everything. And so many, people who wandered in, a little bit interested, they also became purified. So that's the wonderful thing about Krishna consciousness. It's practical, it's joyously performed. What is that? Rajavidya, Rajaguyam, Pavatam, Midambatram, Patikshavagam, Susukam Dharma. It's very easy, very joyfully performed. That comes up in the 9th chapter. Okay, we just did 43, right? All right. Oh no, we did 44. Gee, I'm still behind. So, takes up. Hare Krishna. Thanks for coming. 45. Prayatna jitamanastu yogi sang shuddha kilbishaha aneka janma sang siddhas tato yati param gatim. And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Purport: a person born in a particularly righteous, aristocratic, or sacred family becomes conscious of his favorable condition for executing yoga practice. With determination, therefore, he begins his unfinished task, and thus he completely cleanses himself of all material contaminations. When he is finally free from all contaminations, he attains the supreme perfection, Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the perfect stage of being freed of all contaminations. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7.28. Yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandamo mukta prajante mham jadhavataha. After many, many births of executing pious activities, when one is completely freed from all contaminations and from all illusory dualities, one becomes engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So this is near the end of the next chapter. And it's an important verse. Prabhupada would quote this verse and the previous verse. How did we get in this material world? That's a big, why did we come here? Didn't we know? Didn't Krishna tell us? Prabhupada sometimes says, Krishna tried to convince us not to come, but we were so foolish that we were determined, stubborn. So he describes that process like this. This is the previous verse, this is text 27. Itcha dvesha samutena dvandva mohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. So itcha dvesha means liking and hating, you see? Samutena, arising from that, comes the delusion of duality. This is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, for my own pleasure. So what do we want to do? We want to enjoy. What do we hate to do? Serve Krishna. This is the origin of our coming here. Samutena, and what arises from that is dvandva moha, the delusion of duality. This is good, this is bad, this is good, this is good. Sarva bhutani sammoham, all living entities who have come here were completely bewildered in this way. Sarva bhutani sammoham sargayanti, they went into this creation. Sargayanti palantapa, oh, killer of the enemies, Arjun. That's right. So that, but those who are able to end their sinful life, jananam punya karmanam, by performing pious activity. And this punya, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gave this, there is sukriti and dushkriti. Sukriti is pious activity, and which gives you punya credits, punya karma. So he says there's, what is it? Bhakti-unmukhi sukriti, pious activity within the realm of bhakti yoga that helps you advance in devotional service. Like this activity of taking your time and coming and hearing and studying Bhagavad Gita, this is pious, but that's the least of it. It's bhakti-unmukhi sukriti. It's pious activity in the service of bhakti yoga. You see? Bhakti yoga is certainly not impious activity, but there's materially pious activity, which can get you to the heavenly planets, but then you fall down again. So we don't want any of that. We want the spiritually pious activity. Better to spend 2 hours chanting Hare Krishna than studying how to, play the stock market so you can get rich, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Or whatever, Even material piety, it's much better than that. Because Bhakti Yoga, Krishna consciousness gives both things. You're helping people, you're helping yourself to become peaceful in this world and joyful and confident that you're on the proper path, and you're giving it to others. Because being in a material consciousness, if you're in Krishna consciousness for a while, it's hard to remember. But it's filled with all these ups and downs and these terrors, and and especially in the modern age, maybe the drought's coming. I've lived here, say, at the foot of this mountain for so long, but there's a glacier up there, and now it's climate change. It's going to melt. There's going to be a flood. Look at the floods in Texas. They didn't expect that. Suddenly the sky is open, all the rain comes down. So that's what material life means. You're going along smoothly, then some shock to the system, and there's no peace, Whereas, just look at the great devotees like Prahlad Maharaj and others, and Prabhupada, of course. Even in all of these difficulties, just try to, many of you know the story of the Juhu temple, getting the land, building it, and all the opposition, It was a tremendous battle. But Prabhupada was steadfast. Even though his disciples gave the land back, luckily he didn't accept it. He wasn't ready to give the money back. That's why we have the land. But Prabhupada, he tolerated the foolishness of his disciples, and he came and he had promised the deities, "I'll build you a temple." And I visited there in '77, shortly after Prabhupada disappeared. And I think they had recently had that attack. They told me about how the police came and broke the temporary temple. And one lady, I remember seeing her Ratha Yatra, Giriraj Swami pointed it out to me. She was there and she was trying to block the police, and they grabbed her hair and they were dragging you away. Yeah, ISKCON devotees. And the Juhu story, you should read it. Giriraj Maharaj wrote a wonderful book So I will build you a temple. This was Prabhupada's promise to the deities, and he wouldn't give it up. So all of that struggle, but it was a glorious thing, and Prabhupada was expressing his love for the deities that way, and they were all, reciprocating. And eventually he won a glorious victory, even though he didn't see the temple, ultimate temple. But it just showed what it means. Living in the material world, there's going to be problems, But if you're a strong enough devotee, then tatikshava karunika suridak sarvadehinam. You can be tolerant and then continue being merciful to people, giving Krishna consciousness, even though it was a risk of getting arrested. Some devotees did it first, especially in Australia and in England, But it gives meaning, to the life, and you have hope. It's so encouraging. Second chapter. In this endeavor, there's no loss and diminution. Where can you find that on the material side? No matter how much you endeavor and how much you gain, there's 100% loss when you die. Mrityu sabhaharascha, Krishna says. So what's the point of all this investment of time and energy and all these things? It's a bad bargain. But whatever you endeavor in Krishna consciousness, it's your eternal asset. That comes in a lot. Okay, we have a question. Let's get a mic. No, but we want to hear because we have an audience. People write me, they listen to your classes from Timbuktu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for class. I just wanted to mention that I heard something before from a brahmachari at Bhaktivedanta Manor. He said there's no material obstacles to spiritual progress.
Yeah, there may seem to be, but if you strive, then Krishna takes care of that somehow or other. It's no longer an obstacle, or he takes the obstacle away, or gives you the power to overcome it, and say, look in the rear view mirror, boy, I used to be worried about that. Yeah, we always have to remember that the great advantage of Krishna consciousness is Krishna is on your side. He wants you to come back to him. Why else would he take so much trouble to come here? Of course, he's still in Goloka Vrindavan. We shouldn't think that he says, I'll be right back. No, it's not like that. He's there. But still, why does he come? Because we're all his children. We're all wayward, And when he sees us a little bit interested in Krishna consciousness, he's very happy and gives us more enthusiasm. And sends someone to help us. That's what he's doing. So, there's that great verse we read in the end of the last chapter. Bhoktaram yajñatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyātamam shantam richati. Now the word at the end there, the word shanti, that's almost an English word by now. Peace, right? So this and that's the last verse of the chapter. So Prabhupada dubbed it, this is the peace formula. If one can actually have the faith and understand this verse and believe it, then you can become peaceful in this world. So the first thing is Bhoktaram yajñatapasam. I am the real enjoyer of all the sacrifices and austerities. Bhoktaram yajñatapasam. I am the master and controller of all the planets. Sarvaloka maheshwaram. But now here's the clincher. Wow, what a powerful person. I hope he's on my side. And then he says, Sudidam sarvabhutanam. He is the ever well-wisher of every living entity, including us. So in other words, he's very, very powerful, and he knows everything about us because he's right inside our heart. But I always think of the Constitution. There's this restriction on how the government, they need a warrant to come in and search your apartment. Sometimes they ignore it, but that supposedly that puts a break on it. And they're not supposed to, get into your phone so they can hear every phone call you know what I mean? In other words, you're supposed to have, because you don't trust them to know everything about you. There's some surveillance and, they'll exploit you or something, or sell their information or whatever. So but Krishna, this is Krishna speaking. Of course he is our well-wisher. He knows everything, but he's our best friend. Well, your best friend you'll confide in, you know what I'm saying? So that's why you can get peace. If you know these things, but that Krishna is the enjoyer of the sacrifice, okay, he's the controller of everything, but he's also my best friend, ever well-wisher. Prabhupada would sign all his letters, your ever well-wisher. And it's true. Then, Yatva Mam Shantamrichati. They know that about me, they attain real peace. So that peace is there for us if we have real faith in verses like that. All right, we're almost at that final verse. Let's see, we're in 46 now, right? All right. Tapasvibhyo diko yogi. Jnanibhyo pimato ditaka. Todikaha. Karmibhyas chadiko yogi. Tasmad yogi bhavarjana. Okay, time out. I'm running low on juice, but I have this little portable battery for the cell phone. And these batteries tend to get weaker over time. Okay. All right. Okay, translation. The yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi. Purport. When we speak of yoga, we refer to linking our consciousness with the Supreme Absolute Truth. Such a process is named differently by various practitioners in terms of the particular method adopted. When the linking process is predominantly in fruitive activities, it is called karma yoga. When it is predominantly empirical, it is called Dhyāna-yoga. And when it is predominantly in a devotional relationship with the Supreme Lord, it is called Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga, or Krishna consciousness, is the ultimate perfection of all yogas, as will be explained in the next verse. The Lord has confirmed herein the superiority of yoga, but he has not mentioned that it is better than Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is full spiritual knowledge, and therefore nothing can excel it. Asceticism without self-knowledge is imperfect. Empiric knowledge without surrender to the Supreme Lord is also imperfect. And fruitive work without Krishna consciousness is a waste of time. Therefore, the most highly praised form of yoga performance mentioned here is Bhakti Yoga. And this is still more clearly explained in the next verse. And this verse Prabhupada quoted a lot. Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana Shraddhavam bhajate yomam Same yukta tamomataha. And of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. Purport. The word bhajate is significant here. Bhajate has its root in the word bhaj, which is used when there is need of service. The English word worship cannot be used in the same sense as bhaj. Worship means to adore or to show respect and honor to the worthy one. But service with love and faith is especially meant for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one can avoid worshipping a respectable man or a demigod and may be called discourteous, but one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Lord without being thoroughly condemned. Every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus every living entity is intended to serve the Supreme Lord by his own constitution. Failing to do this, he falls down. The Bhagavatam 11.5.3 confirms this as follows. Ya esham purusham sakshad atma prabhavam ishwaram nabhajanta bijananti stana brashta patantyadaha. Anyone who does not render service and neglects his duty unto the primeval Lord, who is the source of all living entities, will certainly fall down from his constitutional position. Close quote. In this verse, also the word bhajanti is used. Therefore, bhajanti is applicable to the Supreme Lord only, whereas the word worship can be applied to the demigods or to any other common living entity. The word abhajananti, used in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, is also found in the Bhagavad Gita, abhajananti mamudha. Only the fools and rascals deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Close quote. Such fools take it upon themselves to write commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita without an attitude of service to the Lord. Consequently, they cannot properly distinguish between the word bhajanti and the word worship. Yes, you can come. Come on. We'll have a kirtan in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But now you can sit over here with them and I'm sure they'll be as quiet as yogis. All right, we're in the last paragraph of page 300, near the end of the chapter here, of chapter 6. All right, the word bhajanti. They cannot properly distinguish between the word bhajanti and the word worship. The culmination of all kinds of yoga practices lies in bhakti yoga. All other yogas are but means to come to the point of bhakti in bhakti yoga. Yoga actually means bhakti yoga. All other yogas are progressions toward the destination of bhakti yoga. From the beginning of karma yoga to the end of bhakti yoga is a long way to self-realization. Karma yoga without fruit of results is the beginning of this path. When karma yoga increases in knowledge and renunciation, the stage is called Dhyāna-yoga. When Jnana yoga increases in meditation on the supersoul by different physical processes, and the mind is on him, it is called Ashtanga yoga. And when one surpasses the Ashtanga yoga and comes to the point of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, it is called Bhakti yoga, the culmination. Factually, Bhakti yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze Bhakti yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. The yogi, excuse me, can you close the door, necessary doors? Okay. Where was I? To analyze, right? Okay. Factually, Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal, but to analyze Bhakti Yoga minutely, one has to understand these other yogas. The yogi who is progressive is therefore on the true path of eternal good fortune. One who sticks to a particular point and does not make further progress is called by that particular name, Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, or Dhyana Yogi, Raja Yogi, Hatha Yogi, etc. If one is fortunate enough to come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, it is to be understood that he has surpassed all other yogas. Therefore, to become Krishna conscious is the highest stage of yoga. Just as, when we speak of Himalayan, we refer to the world's highest mountains, of which the highest peak, Mount Everest, is considered to be the culmination. It is by great fortune that one comes to Krishna consciousness on the path of Bhakti Yoga to become well situated according to the Vedic direction. The ideal yogi concentrates his attention on Krishna, who is called Shyama Sundar, who is as beautifully colored as a cloud, whose lotus-like face is as effulgent as the sun, whose dress is brilliant with jewels, and whose body is flower garlanded. Illuminating all sides is his gorgeous luster, which is called the Brahma Jyoti. He incarnates in different forms such as Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he descends like a human being as the son of Mother Yashoda, and he is known as Krishna, Govinda, and Vasudeva. He is the perfect child, husband, friend, and master, and he is full with all opulences and transcendental qualities. If one remains fully conscious of these features of the Lord, he is called the highest yogi. This stage of highest perfection in yoga can be attained only by Bhakti Yoga, as is confirmed in all Vedic literature. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata guru tasyaite katitayartha prakashante mahatmanaha. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Shvetashvatar Upanishad 6.23. Bhaktir yasya bhajanam tad iha mutropadi nairasyen mushmin manak kalpanam etad eva naishkarmyam. Quote, Bhakti means devotional service to the Lord which is free from desire for material profit, either in this life or in the next. Devoid of such inclinations, one should fully absorb the mind in the Supreme. That is the purpose of Naishkarmya. Gopaltapani Upanishad 1.15. These are some of the means for performance of bhakti or Krishna consciousness, the highest perfectional stage of the yoga system. Thus end the Bhagavatāna purports to the 6th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the manner of Dhyāna-yoga, the yoga of meditation. So any discussion on this very rich last verse and purport? If you do, you have a microphone there? I guess not. Microphone. Maybe you have a question. Go ahead.
Do I have a question?
Yes. You may not have a question.
Yeah. And Krishna
Uh-huh.
So we were always around that. Now kids are here, they're growing up,
Uh-huh.
trying
Trying to keep some of that Krishna conscious with them. Yeah, yeah, that's proper.
So
Yeah.
Krishna, they're learning. So no, I don't have exactly any question coming in my
That's
mind.
okay.
Um,
That was my question. If you have a question, the answer might be no. So, all right, we have so many students here. Any comment or question on this verse or this chapter? Okay, we got the mic here. You have two. Okay, so hand that down. So you'll be next. He's first. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Because 8:15 is the kirtan, so we.
I just had some small comment. Actually, I had a conversation with someone at the LA temple who was kind of passing through, and had this conversation about, what is bhakti, and can I be a bhakta of, a demigod, and that's kind of like where the conversation led. It was just really interesting that, like the timing wise, like I'm reading, or as I'm listening within the past few verses, it mentioned like the notion of automatically. But I mean, of course, everything, not a blade of grass moves without his sanction.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah. If you really surrender, then automatically everything follows. But that the process of fully surrendering is not so easy to come to. That's the thing.
most definitely, yeah. It was mostly just a comment, but yeah, it's just really interesting how, like, the word bhakti is, I mean, it's solely only used for Krishna in this way. So
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You really can be a bhakta of Lord Indra. You can worship him, hoping to get entrance into his abode and live there and enjoy like that. But that fruit of desire, this is why bhakti really means, as Prabhupada says a million times, loving devotional service. And the most pure example of that is love of a mother for a child. It's not like a bargain. Okay, I'll feed you, but I want this, this, and this. No. It's not transactional. It's just if the child is happy and healthy, then that's your reward. And similarly, with Krishna, yeah, it's not some, the highest bhakti yogis, they're not even concerned about liberation. It's not even going back to God. It's, I don't care, here or in hell or in heaven or whatever. As long as I can serve you, I'll be happy. That complete sense of the definition, and I'll share this with you. Of course, many of you may know this verse, or you've heard it for sure. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyānavatam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama. This is near the beginning of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Nectar of Devotion. And it's very simple. It says, Anya abhilashita shunyam. It's describing what bhakti is. So here's what it isn't. It's completely devoid of all other desires. Other than what? Simply to please Krishna. And he gives a sample. Here's what they are. Jnana, karma, and adi, etc. Jnana means speculation to get liberation. And karma means there's a deal, In other words, I'll worship you and offer this to you, but I want this, this, and this. No. Anadvitam, not covered, not diluted by any of that motivation. Jnana karma anavritam, anukulyena krishnanu shilanam. Shilanam, don't confuse it with the word shila, which means stone. But shila means behavior or activity. Anukulyan means favorable, doing things favorable for Krishna, for his desire, so that he's pleased. And if he's pleased, you're pleased. That's the whole point. And so this is nicely summarized in this wonderful part of a verse by Jiva Goswami that's quoted in the purport in the second canto, 2:3:10, which is the famous akama savakamo va verse. Those who know verses, that's it. Whether you're free of all material desire or filled with all material desire, or you just want moksha, liberation, still you should practice intense devotion to Krishna, and then everything will. So here's the phrase. I memorized this when I first read it 50 years ago. Bhajaniya padama purusha sukhamatra swasukatvam. That's the whole ball game right there. So the first thing, Bhajaniya padama, the worshipable Supreme Personality, sukhamatra, only his happiness. Swasukatvam is your happiness. Now that's quite a change, because being in the material means you've got a false ego. You're identified with the mind and the body and me and mind and everything. No. The body belongs to Krishna. Whatever activities I perform with the senses must be connected with Krishna. you know, hearing about him, seeing him, or serving him somehow like that. Because he's pleased when we hear about him. We shouldn't think that just sitting in a class like this and hearing his instructions is not devotional service. It's like the basis of all devotional service. So anyway, that's what Krishna is. That's what bhakti means. Bhakti is an exchange. It's not just one way. Bhakti means loving service and feeling the reciprocation from Krishna. That's bhakti. And that's why, you know, there's a verse, and this is the first phrase in the verse. Some of you may know what this means. Kaivalyam nadakayate. What does it mean? No. It means for a devotee, one who has been empowered by the merciful sidelong glance of Krishna, of Lord Chaitanya. It's almost time. So he says, impersonal liberation, merging into Brahman, is like going to hell. Because there's no bhakti. Bhakti requires three things: Bhagavan, the bhakta, and the process of bhakti. But there's no Bhagavan there. There's just this white light. And there's not even a bhakta. There's just you, a particle of light. So what's to do? Just to feel thankful. Oh, no more birth, old age, disease, and death. But how much can you be satisfied? How long is that going to satisfy you? Not very long, right? So we need that exchange, activity, rasa, you know, lila. That's satisfying because that's our natural state. All right, we have about 30 seconds, so I'll give you a little poem. Every body dies. Nobody dies. Wake up, and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. On that note, all glory to Srila Prabhupada.